Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Between a Pot and a Hard Place. I'm Stephen Colton.
And I'm Chris Kirkpatrick.
And I did like the whole look at me.
Right.
Like,
I saw you totally posing. You're a poser, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm such a poser. I'm not really Stephen. And then like pull my mask off. It's an old man and Scooby-Doo's in the corner like, see, told you.
No, I thought I was playing off of the you're a poser, Yelena Belovna from Black Widow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, wait, what? Took me a second to get that one.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We took a week off last week, and it's nice to have a break once in a while.
It is.
I almost forgot to do it this week. I'm like, oh yeah, it's showtime, and I'm more excited to come on after like a week or so off, and I'm just like,
right. Well, I think if people didn't realize that you and I both have full-time lives outside of this podcast world we've created, hey, it is true. So
thank you. It's good to be back on.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
And yeah, as you saw in the beginning of the show, over the last couple of weeks, we lost Ivan Reitman.
I know.
And I'm sure, there's tons of other celebrity deaths and stuff like that. And it's so hard to keep up with this year.
It's crazy. I went back and was looking at all the things that Ivan Reitman had been involved with over the years. And he's got a super extensive list of things that he's been involved in.
Yeah. A lot of these I had no clue he was part of. I have some like pictures of like movie posters I was going to show. There's quite a few, but we'll just go through them real quick. Like, Junior.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Cannibal Girls, which
that's not one that I'm familiar with.
Father's Day. Now these are this was on an article that I typed in like Ivan Reitman films, and like there was these like top 50 best movie and whatever. So I haven't really researched these to confirm, but he had some sort of involvement with all of these, whether it be directing, producing, writing credit, whatever. My Super Ex-Girlfriend, that one was like, really?
Yeah.
Okay. 6 Days, 7 Nights, Twins, which doesn't surprise me. I know that Arnold Schwarzenegger and Ivan Reitman had a good relationship because right after the news broke, I saw Arnold like, my girlfriend Ivan. I was like, I'm not even gonna go there. But yeah, Legal Eagles. Like some of these I've seen once, maybe Evolution.
I've seen that a number of times.
No Strings Attached. I watched that movie. It's weird that he's involved in that one. Kindergarten Cop, another Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's not a tumor.
It's not. Maybe it's a tumor. I said that. I should have said that first.
He was involved in Meatballs. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a crazy. Draft Day. Never seen that one either. Dave. Stripes. No surprise with Bill Murray. There's a few of those. And of course, who can forget Ghostbusters 2 and then number 1. I put that last because for me personally, Ghostbusters is probably like the top 1 and 2 both, but number 1 is a little bit. I don't want to say better than 2, but it just holds a special place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's now I don't know if Ivan Reitman produced 50 Shades of Grey, but maybe he did. I don't know if that's a joke or if that's serious.
I went back and looked. I didn't see anything about 50 Shades of Grey anywhere on this list. So
maybe they were working on a reboot and they didn't get a chance.
Maybe. He on his IMDb, however, where it lists all of his movies and credits and everything else, they even talk about future productions that they're either in pre-production or they've been announced in the future. There's nothing in there about 50 Shades. So
yeah, darn. I know he was somewhat involved with Ghostbusters Afterlife too. I don't know why I didn't. I know his son directed it, but
right.
I know he was consulting on it and helping and all that kind of stuff. So, and they were working on another one. And from what I understand, they had plans, maybe not like anything in concrete yet, but they had plans for another movie.
I mean, I really feel like, for Ivan Reitman, I feel like the Afterlife movie was in many ways his son's love letter to his father, right? The idea that I'm going to pay homage as best I can to the legacy you've left me. I think that's pretty cool. I was looking at his biography a little bit, and one of the things that's interesting here is that he was not American born. He was born in Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting.
Yeah, back in 1946. So what a time to be born. If I'm being honest. So
it's crazy. I mean, and it seems kind of like, I don't even know what word would best describe it, but the overall tone of Ghostbusters Afterlife, how that movie ends, and then it almost felt like a weird dark foreshadowing in a way, not intentional, not like ha ha ha, Dad's gonna love this when he comes back, like nothing like that, not but still, it's like it makes that movie so much more special, I think. And I couldn't believe when I saw it. I was like, really?
No. I think that when you think of Ivan Reitman, you automatically associate him with Ghostbusters.
Yeah, automatically.
And the idea that that movie sort of acted like a capstone to his career, I think that was a good final note to his legacy, I think. So
definitely.
I know that tonight, our main focus, we're really dialing in on all of those 3 major Ghostbusters movie. I know I'm hoping we're planning on just skipping over 2016, though. Ivan Reitman produced that one too.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was doing a little bit of research myself the other day when I got all these pictures, and I was like, can someone hack the Wikipedia and IMDb pages and erase that one? But I don't want to insult it too much, because I kind of feel bad now, because he obviously cared enough about it and liked it enough to be part of it. And all the other original living Ghostbusters as well. Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, and why do I always forget his name? I always forget the guy's name.
So Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson.
Ernie Hudson. I think Harold Ramis had already passed away by that time. But they I think had a picture of him or something like that. So they were all represented in the movie, and they all kind of like said, "Oh yeah, we're involved in it." And Dan Aykroyd seemed to like it. Everybody seemed to like it. But it's like, why? Why did you like it? How could you like it?
Well, I think that so often you really want something to be good. I mean, I think that nobody sets out to write a bad movie.
No,
I think you don't realize just how underwater you are sometimes until it comes out and it gets released, and you realize that it really is a dumpster fire.
Yeah. And that movie kind of like helps me realize the point that many people make. I've been watching. Won't talk too much about this. Maybe we can review it later on. But Bel-Air on Peacock.
Right.
It's a reboot of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So many people online, oh, Hollywood, you're so lazy, come up with new ideas. I'm like, but it's good. You don't get it. Stop hating. But then I remind myself that Ghostbusters 2016 happened. And my thought, oh, you're so lazy, get a new idea. I wouldn't have been that negative on the movie had they connected them somehow.
I think, right. And I think that for me, bottom line is that whether you do a reboot or not, I think ultimately people deserve a good, well-written movie, no matter what it is. If you're going to make an original, make it a good original. If you're going to make a reboot, then really honor the source material that it's based on, honor your fans, and don't make it a big, giant joke. So I think, one of the things that I love about our podcast is that generally, by and large, we really do try to keep things positive.
We do.
We've always said that, there's so much out there to be thankful for and to enjoy. We don't really need to go around bashing stuff. However, I feel like for the sake of time and efficacy, we can just kind of wax on, wax off 2016.
Yeah.
And just focus on 1, 2, and Afterlife, if that's okay with you.
There's the greatest thing about the 2016 film is that it ended. It was done. It stopped. It didn't keep going. Right. I did enjoy parts of it. I won't go into detail about the movie, but I did enjoy the opening and certain aspects of the movie. One day on my deathbed, I might finish it just to say I did. I don't know.
On your deathbed with all the things you could do or see, and that's your. I mean, it's like saying I want a bologna sandwich as my last meal.
I might have it playing in the background when like some celebrity crush comes to take me on one last date on Earth. Okay. Or something. I don't know. Hopefully they don't like it because that would ruin the final date.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
Going into Ghostbusters, I mean, oh gosh, I had not seen. I saw Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 probably when I was a little kid, and it's been so long ago that I'm like I don't remember much of those movies at all. And then before, like maybe a month or so before Afterlife comes out, I go and I find a Blu-ray copy of Ghostbusters 1 and 2 together. Right. And it was cheap. It was like $10. So I buy it and then I sit there for like a couple of weeks before I actually put them in and watch them. But then I did. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. I love these movies. It almost felt like watching them for the first time. Yeah. Because I hadn't seen them in so long. I had more memories of Ghostbusters 2 than the first one. I mean, other than the Stay Puft scene at the end, the only thing that really stuck out in my mind was when Dana's in the bathtub giving her baby the bath, and like this goo starts coming out of the faucet. Like I knew about that.
Yeah.
But that's all I remembered. So it was like a fresh take. So if you want to really love a movie all over again, don't watch it for like 20 years and then watch it again.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do that. You know, for me, remember that I'm a little bit older than you are. Yeah. You know, the first movie came out in what, 1984?
Yeah, I believe so.
So I was 5. I don't think my parents took me to go see it in 84, but I'm certain that I watched the Ghostbusters 2. That said, I think every time that Ghostbusters or Ghostbusters 2 has been on TV, I've watched it just religiously. It's one of those movies that for me, and I don't know about you, but it really never gets old.
It really doesn't. I mean, I haven't gone back to watch it again since right before Afterlife came out. Now I've seen Afterlife twice because I did buy the Blu-ray as soon as it hit the shelves. I bought it. We talked about that a little bit, and I sent a digital code over to you, and I've watched more of the special features to see how they, did some of the things that they did and all that. But I don't know if there's an actual feature on the Egon Spengler being in the film, but I know they took old footage, old pictures. They digitally created this model and all that. It's a lot.
It's amazing what they were able to do.
And I bring that up because, like, looking at that and where the effects have come, going back to the first movie, even for 1984, that movie had pretty impressive effects, like Slimer coming through, the lady in the library, all that kind of stuff. It was really impressive for that time, and it really was. Up.
It really was, and I think that it comes down to, if we put the special effects to the side, I think that even just looking at the cleverness of the writing itself, mm-hmm. It was well written. They had a great cast. They had a great story. I think there was a good blend of humor, and yet I think they still took it seriously. Right? It was a serious movie with humorous elements, not a comedy. And I think that was something that made it special. So as far as who wrote Ghostbusters 1, mm-hmm. There are 3 people that are credited with writing. I knew about Dan Aykroyd, mm-hmm. and I knew about Harold Ramis, both of them.
They had actually created Ghostbusters.
They had.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah.
They had. They had both credited. They're credited both as writers. The one that I was surprised by, and that nobody ever talks about, is Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rick Moranis is listed as one of the writers. Now, in mine it says uncredited, but they still have him listed there. I don't know whether it says whether that's he made recommendations about a couple of things or not, but the fact that he's listed as a third writer of Ghostbusters, again, that was something that I was surprised by.
It is impressive. And not to go off track, but I forgot to throw this on at the beginning of the show. Our Twitter and Facebook information scrolling down there at the bottom.
It's scrolling.
Now I was gonna write more on the scroller, but there's a character limit, so it cuts you off.
Okay.
But yeah, we got our Twitter, and you can see it throughout the whole show. Because I always forget to talk about it at some points.
I know,
and so it's just always there. It's always going to be ticking.
Right. It's awesome. The last time that we had met, I had mentioned a scroller at the bottom of the screen, and we have a scroller at the bottom of the screen.
Absolutely.
It's like I made it happen or something.
Yeah, you spoke it into existence.
I spoke it into existence. That's awesome.
But yeah, and it's really cool. You can turn it off at any time. You can leave it going. And it's cool. There's a feature to where you can turn it off from scrolling, just be, stationed there.
I feel like this is the perfect moment if we can just kind of throw in a shameless plug here. If you guys are not already following us on YouTube or subscribing to our channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and subscribe. We got all of our Twitter information down there. You guys can join us at Pot and Hard Place, at Stephen Colton, or at CJ Kirk 1979. It's always make sure that you follow after Mr. Mark Guggenheim. Gosh, you think I would know how to say his name? I know.
Yeah, I do the same thing though. Like I try to pronounce last names just like Jay and Todd. Like Todd's name. First time I said Jay's last name, I butchered it. And I was like, hey, I hope I had your name right. He's like, not even close. And I'm just like, okay, never going to say last names.
Right. Right. Let them introduce themselves. So anyway, I think shameless plug over. So that as far as Ghostbusters 1, what was your favorite parts of that movie?
Oh gosh. I think the first time we see them shoot the oh gosh, what is it called? I always forget the details.
It's a proton pack.
Proton pack. Why did I forget that? I always forgot what they called they called it a wand, I guess, but there was like a proton wand or something like that, like the actual piece. But the first time any of them shot it, and they power me on, and you hear it go on, and you see them shoot it for the first time. Like,
right.
That's a pretty memorable moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's epic, and I think it was hilarious that none of them had realized just what those things were going to do. He's like, "Oh, and I should remind you, don't cross the streams."
And they always do.
Right. But I
it's
still
like the
thought
one
that
thing.
was,
yeah.
I thought that was great. I think when I go back and watch it, I think it's an amazing reminder how young these guys were. Right. Yeah. Sometimes, I mean, we realize that was 38 years ago. 38
close.
years ago.
Yeah, pretty close.
If my math is right.
37, 38, depending on the month, I guess, the month it came out. But
so it's been a hot minute. So it's just amazing that, 38 years later, they come back and do it all over again.
It's insane. You don't see that much. I mean, people complain. They say, "Oh, why do you not make new ideas?" It's like, why not go with something that's already, solid, that's already built? There's a foundation, a built-in audience. It's going to appeal instantly to millions of people, and you're going to get millions of dollars. It's like financially makes sense. Story makes sense. 2016 never happened, but yeah, and this, not going away. I don't want to go too far away from the first movie yet, but. Oh gosh, the story was really great, and I still don't know. Like, I would love to ask them a question if I could. Like, what was the inspiration and why the Stay Puft Man? I know it was funny, it was neat and cool and everything, but why him? Why not like I don't know, a giant Pepsi can or a Dorito bag or something? I don't know. It's just. That's what they picked. That was pretty.
I think that it was the most ironic monster to destroy New York City. Right?
Maybe the cheapest they can get rights to.
Maybe. I mean, I think that again, it was meant to be humorous,
right?
And yet at the same time, equally terrifying. Right?
Yeah.
A multi-story marshmallow. So yeah, I thought that was brilliant. Characters that I think really stand out to me. You know, who doesn't love Sigourney Weaver?
Right. I mean, she's amazing in that movie. And then when she's possessed by gosh, I'm terrible at names. I'm just gonna be like,
right.
I have a voiceover guy.
Talking about Gozer, right? Or
Gozer,
Zool.
yeah.
There Zool, is no Dana, only Zool.
Yes, Zool. How do I not know that? How did I forget that? Oh my gosh. And they did the same thing in Afterlife with There Is No Mom, Only Zool. But yeah, I loved how she played both of those because it was like, you know, I didn't know how to react when I was like, how is she going to do this? Like, she's just one character, completely innocent, like, oh my gosh, help me. And then now she was like the evil satanic demon.
Right. Thing. Now, what's crazy to me here is in both 1 and 2, for whatever reason, Dana Barrett becomes the target of a spirit, right? Or of ghosts. I'm like, who did Dana Barrett piss off? Right?
Yeah, and I guess she just got completely unlucky that she happened to live in the apartment building that dude built. And it's
I know.
All of his structures, anything he built is somehow haunted automatically.
Right.
Because it was magic and all this weird, like, witchcrafty stuff. I don't know. I mean, it makes sense, but it doesn't.
I know. So I feel like Sigourney Weaver was the perfect lady to cast for the movie, though. I mean, she really is this epic force of a woman. She's beautiful. She's intelligent. She's quick-witted. I think that everything you could want from a character to play someone like Dana Barrett, who I think is complicated and interesting and dynamic. You know, I thought she was really well cast. You know, and this is kind of a movie that I think is skewed a little bit more heavily toward the guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson get more screen time, but when we see Sigourney Weaver as Dana Barrett, I think she really does shine.
She really does. And I love how, you know, you have Rick Moranis come in there and it's like, oh, you're the key master. I don't know. Are you? Like, the goofiness of that before he's possessed. And then when he is possessed, they're like, yeah, we're going to do this. It's weird to see Rick Moranis go from being this like bumbling, goofy guy to like being possessed and going crazy and all this stuff. That's another great casting too. Like, who else would you have gotten to play that character? I mean, who was around in 1984? Like, I don't think I was going to try to pretend like, okay, I would have picked this guy, but I don't know anybody else that I would have wanted to pick or that could have done it.
I think that Rick Moranis was perfectly. It was a great casting choice. He's always done the nerdy, geeky, gangly, insecure kind of person. So
Corey brings up an interesting point. What if, you know, the 2016 Ghostbusters was actually centered around Dana's baby, which would have been great. That would have been a good way to connect it.
Right. I think there are so many options they had available, and they just didn't do it.
And they could still tie it together. I mean, honestly, because they could always come back later and say like, oh, this girl was, you know, Dan Aykroyd's daughter or cousin or niece, or this was Dana's baby, or or whatever. You know.
All right. So
Corey has a couple of names that he could have. Martin Short and Steve Guttenberg for Rick Moranis' character.
Okay.
That would be good. I still think Rick Moranis. I mean, maybe it's because we look at it like now after the fact and how perfect he was. It's so hard to pretend like, okay, he was never involved. Who would you put? But I think, you know, Martin Short or Steve Guttenberg would have been pretty good picks.
For me, Steve Guttenberg has sort of a Paul Rudd characteristic about him. I could kind of see. I think that he would have been an interesting choice.
Steve Martin is another one.
Steve Martin is very over the top in my view, and I think that it just goes to show, you know, that why Rick Moranis was so perfectly cast for the movie, because I feel like he played the character right. I think it wasn't overly exaggerated. It was humorous, but still seemed very natural. I just absolutely loved it. I was thinking about another character that sometimes maybe we don't talk enough about, but the character of Janine Melnitz.
Janine,
yeah. So played by Annie Potts. I don't know if you've ever seen anything else that Annie Potts is in.
I'm sure I have, but with I have such a bad memory with watching things that were like, oh, what's that movie? And then somebody can tell me the entire plot. I'm like, I don't know it. Then I see it on a screen. I'm like, oh, that movie. Why didn't you say so? Like, I did. It's kind of how my mind works. I don't know.
Right. I get it. Annie Potts, though, has had a long career outside of Ghostbusters. Mm-hmm. And in the movie, she plays, not the first time that we get a beautiful or a beautiful actress who gets hidden behind a pair of glasses. Yeah. However, I think that with the voice and her mannerisms, I think that we forget just how great an actress she is. She disappears into the character of mm-hmm. Janine. So I really liked her. I think and she becomes sort of like that cliche secretary a little bit. Not to bash secretaries because they really do run the show. I don't know where I would be without mine at work. But I thought, again, her character was that perfect blend of, she was there for a little bit of comic relief. That she comes back for Afterlife, even at a small amount, to pay her respects. I thought that was a really cool touch.
Really was. So I guess Ghostbusters 2, we can kind of go into a little bit. The thing I remember most, like I said, was this like the underground goo factory and all this stuff spewing into the water supply and people getting it into their systems and going crazy. It's like creating more ghosts and stuff, like all these spirits flowing out.
Right. Well, I think the real joke is, New York City, New York in general has sort of a reputation, right, of being, somebody has said that the East Coast is they're not nice, but they're kind, right? And I the idea that they'll be they won't talk to you, but they'll get the snow off your driveway. I think they were playing off that vibe, kind of that stereotype about New York. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I remember that the slime being just a huge part of that movie.
And Corey's right; it was fueled by their negative thoughts, and
right.
I'd forgotten about that actually. They were trying to convince everybody to be nice. And they're like, no. And the more they tried, it seemed like the more negative people got.
Right. Yeah. So I really liked that element mm-hmm. of it. And then, the idea that like they go and, dig a hole in the ground and
in the street, like right in the middle of the road.
Right. And then them trying to go that awesome scene where they have to try to explain to the police officers about, we're working down here. What do you got a problem? We're trying to get this taken care of. We got electrical lines lying down here. And they're like, there aren't electrical lines. What are you telling me that? I love that. I love that banter.
Those were so good.
It was great. I think wrapped up in the entire story in both movies is this idea that despite all the evidence that they had of the existence of ghosts, right, that you still had people who didn't believe in ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of those things until people, experienced it for themselves. Some of them, had a really hard time accepting it.
And then even when people saw it, they forgot about it like a few years later.
Oh, yeah.
Because who can forget this giant, like 60-foot Stay Puft Marshmallow Man terrorizing the entire city? And at the end of it all, in the second movie, the little health inspector guy, I can't remember his name, is like, see, they did that with light shows. That's not real. Like, oh, okay, yeah, it's not real. You guys are shut down. Like,
yeah.
Is it really that easy to convince, like, the police and all these people to shut them down when they all literally saw it happen?
Well, and what's crazy is not only did it was like this, like, like everybody forgot what they had done. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But no, I really agree. The issue that people, we call it, no good deed goes unpunished. Right. This idea that, they had sacrificed and had really fought to save their city, and at the end of the day, they had been completely forgotten and ignored and left with the bill. They had to pay for it, and they end up going out of business. That saddest scene of the movie, at least in the beginning, was that they're doing children's birthday parties.
Oh yeah, and then the kids don't even like it. Like, who are you gonna call?
He-Man.
He-Man. And that was whole. I mean, I actually laughed at that out loud when I saw it.
Right.
This was just a few months ago. But the whole idea behind that was like, what you were talking about. It made me think of Willem Dafoe in Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man. He's like, in spite of everything they've done for you, eventually they will hate you. Why bother? Because it's right. But yeah, I mean, that kind of was the whole idea of the second movie. Like, they knew it was right, no matter what people said or did. They knew they had to do it. But then when they shut off the containment grid or whatever, here goes all the ghosts, and they're like, "Oh, please help us catch them!" Like, really? Why don't you just call He-Man and have him do it?
Oh yeah.
Like, that kind of made me mad. I'm like, now you want them, now you care. Oh gosh, but the second one, it had its own way of being great, so it's hard to compare the first two together. I think. I still think the first one, because it came first. It's like classic. It's like, oh yeah. And then the second one, we already know who they are as characters. We already know what they're doing. They don't have to learn how. They're already there. It's just convincing the people to get behind them again, which is harder, I think, than the first time. Because anybody's gullible, like, oh yeah, ghost, sure, here, take my money and go get the ghost. But then when they're convinced that it's not real, like, having to gain their trust back is always harder.
I think the truth is that none of them were really doing all of that great. Right?
Not really.
Like they had really enjoyed being Ghostbusters. I think they'd all felt like, as a team, as friends, that was really what they were meant to be doing. Right. And even Peter Venkman, he was on TV, but he was on this crap show that nobody cared about and absolutely nobody took seriously.
I don't think he took it seriously either. He's just like, welcome to the show. Can you guess what's on this card? Or like, all this stuff. And it's like,
well, and I think that it really kind of played into his brand of, psychology, in that, he was using psychology to, con his way into women's pants. That really was right.
Just get paid and get,
But, so I really do feel like in many ways, they really should have, thanked Vigo, the Carpathian, for coming back and trying to, destroy the world, because, in a way, he really forced them back together in a way that probably nothing else would have.
Mm-hmm. What about the ending of the second movie? Like, what? Like, I don't know if I compared to the first one or not, but like, just in general.
So I think that you had mentioned the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and I look at the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man a lot like in DC's Legends of Tomorrow, when they create Super Bebo, and this giant stuffed animal becomes, their victor, their champion, and he totally wipes the floor with that demon. It's the same kind of thing. Something hilarious and cute and cuddly and soft, gets totally flipped upside down and turned into something you wouldn't expect. I think that was the surprise element in the whole thing. In the second movie, they do it again, right? But they up the ante and they turn the Statue of Liberty into this. I mean, the Statue of Liberty is already a symbol of hope, right? But the fact that they would charge it with positive slime and march it across the Hudson, and then
yeah,
down the street to the museum.
That was crazy, and it felt like, for me, I know that happened way before,
right?
But watching it more recently, I was like, "Is this a Power Rangers episode, or is this, because they all like, let's go and jump into this giant thing and fight the monster." And even the first one to a degree, like they were, fighting the big monster.
Make my monster grow.
Yeah, and that would have been cool to see a little Stay Puft
Marshmallow. A little Rita Repulsa moment there.
It's been great, yeah.
I know, but no, I really do feel okay, and I think that Corey is right that that Vigo the Carpathian. I found Vigo to be far more terrifying than Gozer was.
Yeah, I would agree. I didn't watch it. I mean, I watched it as a kid, but I don't remember it as a kid. I was very young when they came out. Like the first one, I wasn't even born yet, and then the second one, I was very young, so I don't remember them as much as a lot of people do.
All right, so top terrifying Vigo moments, right? What would you consider to be top terrifying Vigo moments?
Oh gosh, maybe the first time. I know it sounds cheesy and like lazy, but like the first time we see him like just emerge or whatever, like it's always like, holy crap, that's happening. I don't know if I never really thought of like specific moments. Like I would say that would have to be mine, I guess. The first time he comes up and says like, hey, here I am, but it doesn't just say, here I am, look everybody, but his first appearance or his first emergence or whatever.
I think there was, for me, it was the subtlety, right? Like he could have just burst out at any time.
Yeah.
That he wanted to, but like, I think the first time that they had realized it, right, they were like his head kind of bulged out of the picture a little bit, and it doesn't seem like anybody notices it, but we, the audience, see it.
That's what it was for me. I think the build up to it, because you see the eyes move, then you see the head move, then you see it kind of start to come out a little bit. I'm like, oh, he's gonna jump out at some point. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh! And when he finally does, it's like, wow.
Right, and even Dana says, "I've always hated this picture," right? Like she's working on it.
Paint and go 3D and take over the idiot art guy.
Yes, that was certainly one of them. I think that moment when they're taking pictures, and we've got Peter Venkman. He's taking pictures, and he's totally doing that artsy camera guy. He's like, "Show me angry, show me angry. All right, you want to kill me? You destroy me, destroy me." I think that. Then they go back to go develop the film, and all of the pictures they take of Vigo burst into flames. So those were all some pretty powerful moments. Even near the end, when Vigo is trying to physically inhabit the body of Dana's baby.
That was a little weird. He kept taking the baby, and then she'd get to it and like push her away, and like that was so creepy. I was like, "Is this baby actually gonna get killed?" I thought they might have, maybe not killed, but I thought like once this baby's possessed, like there's no coming back. It's gonna stay possessed, and
right?
In order to stop it, you have to kill the baby, kind of thing. And I'm just like, "Oh, please, no! It's a baby. Come on!"
I know. I'm really glad that we have gotten to the baby. I think that. We can't talk about the baby without really talking about Dr. Yanish, and that's played by Peter McNichol. He was creepy. Even before he was possessed by by Vigo, he was a really weird kind of guy.
Yeah.
But the idea for him that, what does he get out of the deal? If he delivers the baby, then that he ends up he gets to be the wife of, not the wife, the husband of Dana and the father of the child.
Yeah, that was creepy alone. Just that the dude was creepy. The more I think about him, the more I get creeped out. I'm like, he was so bad. And he was perfectly cast. I think the guy that played him did a great job.
He really did.
The creep factor was turned all the way up, I think. almost as creepy as the little kid from Stargirl. That little kid's just like, and it's just, I don't. Now, if the baby had stood up and was like, I'm going to kill everybody, like that would have been.
Well, there's that. we have Janine and we have Lewis, who they're supposed to be babysitting.
Yeah.
While Peter and Dana are out on their date. And, while they're making out on the couch, they're totally not paying attention to the baby. And Dana comes home, and there's the baby in the windowsill, climbing out the window.
That's true. I forgot about that, actually.
And there was that terrifying moment when the baby, she's out there trying to get the baby back, and all of a sudden, there's like Yanish's spirit comes out and plucks the baby and carries it away.
That was kind of crazy because, like, I forgot about that specific moment where they were babysitting. But that was, I was like, is that baby gonna jump? It's like he just couldn't watch them make out anymore. He's like, I've had enough of this.
Right. Right. Give me my French bed pizza and let me go to sleep.
Yeah. I don't know. The more we talk about it, the more I really realize how much I liked Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
Like I want to say that they're equal still in a way. I don't like gun to the head, I would have to pick the first movie probably, but if you really think about it, they're both pretty good. I don't think there's any parts of the second that some people could disagree. I've said that to other people and they're like, I don't know, the first one was way better. And maybe, I don't know. I looked at them around, the same. Like they both had their humor. They both had the heart. They both had like all these elements to them. And it'd be hard to pick one if I had to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just a little side note, and something that I didn't know. So, the baby who played in Ghostbusters 2,
it's Kristen Wiig. Now she's no, I'm not even gonna pretend to connect those together. I would
No, so it was Henry Duchendorff. It was actually two twins.
Okay.
Right? So two twin boys, and I've heard part of the reason why sometimes they like to use twins when dealing with babies is because there's a limited amount of time legally that you can have a child on set according to the laws. So if you have twins who look a lot alike, right, then you can use one twin for the allotted amount of time and then swap out the other twin and use it for an additional amount of time and keep within the laws. And that's sort of how things worked. The sad part is that one of the twins, Henry Duchendorff, he had actually died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Back in June 21st of 2017, he died at the age of...
Wow.
So he died at the age of 29 because of suicide.
I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
2016 Ghostbusters, but I mean... I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were twins, and I didn't know that that had happened.
Yeah, I didn't know they were twins, but I knew that they were twins. I didn't know that he had taken his own life. Just kind of sad.
It is.
I think what's crazy though is to realize that the surviving twin right now is 33.
Oh wow, that would be close to Because I know when did the second movie came out? Was it 80?
89.
9. Okay, so he would have been that's close. I'm not gonna try to do the math in my head that quick, but I'd say like
I'll let you grab a calculator. You can take off your shoes and socks and you can touch toes.
Pretend like I'm not looking at my calculator. Like
right.
There's actually one on my computer that would be a lot faster to pull up probably than on my phone. Now I'm just curious. At first I'm like, that's close. Now I'm like, wait, what would he be? So 1989, 33. Yeah, that was pretty spot on. 33 years old. So I'm a little older than that guy. So guy. No, I don't know why. I'm just bragging about that. Being older is not good. Unless you hit 21. After 21, it doesn't matter. I'm 21, you're 19. And then everybody's 21. You're like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think there are certain ages where like it's just extra special. Like I don't know why for me, 17, I loved 17, and then 21 was great. 24 was awesome, and then 27, and then I think after that it all went to hell.
I mean, I wasn't 16 and pregnant, but I remember 16 being a big one. I don't know why. I didn't get my driver's license like most kids. I actually didn't get my driver's license until I was like 19.
Oh, really?
Or 18, somewhere in there. Don't really know why. I mean, I had a learner's permit, did the driver's ed thing in high school, all that, but I don't know. I guess like not every family is like a TV family and they have like millions of dollars laying around. Like here's a car, here's 6 cars. Like you see these TV shows and like everybody doesn't have any real problems. They're like, I only have 14 million in the biggest set of 12. I mean, what's more? Never mind. Forget I said that.
Oh, let me just say, I know this is completely off topic, but I definitely did not grow up rich. I think it was because my parents were lazy. They wanted somebody that could go and run. They wanted me to run all of their errands, and we lived rural, right? We were in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the Mojave Desert. So, if my parents didn't want to drop off my brother or my foster brother someplace, I was the taxi, right? So
tell me you didn't lock Corey in the trunk when you had to take him to somewhere.
I didn't.
Okay, good.
I didn't.
There's still time.
Apparently, I traumatized the poor guy enough, but didn't lock him in the trunk.
You were the one that showed him Ghostbusters and freaked him out, right?
We certainly watched it. We certainly watched it together.
See,
I can't blame. I can't get blamed for the movie scaring him.
It's not. Yeah,
I know. And in balance, there were plenty of other movies that we had watched growing up that were far scarier than Ghostbusters.
Corey now has some support coming up. There's going to be a whole group, maybe.
I know. Maybe we could have meetings and outside of the podcast, and we could all say affirmations and well wishes and everything else.
Hopefully he's gotten through some of the issues.
A little bit. I think therapy's helped. Definitely therapy, good medication, and that certainly is always good. So.
Unless you're giving it to him, you're like flinging it at his face with like applesauce or something. No. I'm going too far there.
I'm gonna be honest here that sometimes you're related. Yeah, follow to my Patreon.
Patreon, yeah.
I know. Some people you're related and you're family, but you don't have any choice about it. And then sometimes you have family and you're so glad that they're a part of your life. And Corey is one of those people. I know this is not meant to be a gushy, sad moment, but I'm so glad that Corey has put up with me. He's been an awesome brother and a great uncle to my kids, and really just a good friend and support in addition to just being my brother. And I know that we certainly bug the hell out of each other sometimes, and sometimes do some things that we're not always so proud of. But at the same time, I think that honestly couldn't be more thankful to have him in my corner and in my life. So anyway, just before anybody, if I'm sarcastic and laugh about things that happened in the past, I'm really not an asshole or a jerk. Sometimes I do it because I'm sarcastic and I'm trying to be funny, but I don't want people to get the wrong idea either. So
I got to start, like, maybe next week we'll have a ticker that has an 800 number. Like, if you want to donate to Corey, please call the number below. We'll be like a telethon at PBS.
Well, it would be great. We have like pictures of Corey with a sad face, and then like bust out "In the arms of the angels, far away from here."
If somebody has a puppy and you'd be holding a puppy when that happened,
I know
how I wrote the statement. You're a great actor. It did kind of feel like one of those, like, especially with the little ticker at the bottom. It felt like one of those, like, videos.
They
do. Like a terrorist video. Like
they like me. They really, really like me.
Yeah.
Like, I want to thank the Academy.
And then all the comments below, like, he's really lying. He's so mean to him, and he just punched him in the face yesterday. No, I do enjoy hearing the stories from time to time. It's like, oh, the ninja weapon thing hitting each other. Like I pictured it, and I was like,
right,
all right.
And in Corey's defense, he gave as good as he got. So that's true. That's true. I took as many nunchucks to the forehead as he got bow staffs. So
I think I would. Yeah.
I think sometimes I'm just amazed that we survived our childhood intact. I think that's the crazy part of the whole thing.
Maybe that's why I'm so forgetful and just kind of, I know, like more laid back. Like, I forget what's going on because I never got hit in the head with any weapons. So like I'm not on the edge of my feet all the time, all alert, like a cat or something. I'm like, just maybe I wish I could have gotten beaten in the face with a bunch of weapons when I was a kid.
I mean, it's never too late. You're literally wearing a T-shirt that says Vigilante Club on it.
Yeah.
Right? So you can always.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could go into the rough part of Asheville and,
Oh, I could definitely. Yeah. There's just maybe like not even a mile up the street. I could go up there and say like anything like, you suckers are terrible or whatever, like negative for it. And it would probably be a bullet to the head before it would be a brick or something. So I don't know if I'd want to do that, but I can go. Yeah, I could definitely get into some trouble if I wanted to. Okay, so apparently, breaking news: it was the little nunchucks versus a log, like that scene from Peacemaker. So,
can you put that up there again for me? I just want to make sure I saw that properly. He literally spelled it Peacemaker.
Peacemaker, yeah.
Peacemaker. Yeah, can we just leave that up there for a little while?
Just leave it up there.
Linger on Peacemaker.
And the torture continues.
I know.
And log, like a big log.
I've always, believe it or not, I've really made it an effort not to criticize. Whoops. You finally got us swapped over to the right.
I forgot. I didn't even notice. I'm like halfway through the show. Didn't even notice.
So, people may not know that for 17 years of my life, I was an English teacher before I made the move to being an administrator.
Copyright reasons.
Exactly. But no, the idea that I when I would get home, I always told people I took my English teacher hat off, and I wouldn't intentionally critique people's spelling or grammar, particularly on social media. But I could not help myself on that one.
I'm bad about it, and I'm kind of contradicting myself a lot too because I know I make my share of mistakes. Sometimes you're trying to get a message out real quick, a comment, whatever. You misspell something, you mistype something. But I don't know. Anytime somebody's like unnecessarily just like trolling or yelling at something or being super negative, I look for their mistakes. I'm just like, I'm gonna get you back, and they're like, "Oh, that's the best you got." I'm like, "Well, you're making fun of me for liking Kevin Smith, so what's your deal?" Like, I don't know. Kevin Smith has a lot of haters. I don't know what it is, but they really don't. They're really mad at him about the He-Man stuff.
You know what happens though, right? You get somebody who fights their way to the top, and you get people who go out of their way to pull them down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
I enjoy social media. I enjoy Twitter, and I try really hard not to post stuff that is, negative or anything. But you always get people who will, let you know that they don't like what it is you're sharing or talking about. It's just completely unavoidable.
That's true.
All right, back on track.
I forgot.
I know, brief little segue. But I think we've kind of saved the best for last. Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah. No, I do think that was my favorite Ghostbusters out of the three. Just because it had a good story. People hate on it too. Original idea. Get your own idea. It's like, well, come up with $65 million and make your own movie.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it was great. It wasn't so much a reboot. It was more of a continuation. And with reboot aspects too. And I love when projects can do that. They can reboot themselves while still being a sequel. That's why I think shows like Fuller House and Saved by the Bell not so much. But shows like that were able to continue on and reboot themselves and still have a new audience and still hold the older audience. And it brings the whole thing together.
No, I think so. And again, like you, I love Ghostbusters Afterlife. I think for me, it passes the test of, is this a movie that I would go back and watch again? Yeah. And I absolutely will do that. I am going to go and play devil's advocate, however. For me, it's still the third favorite of the three.
Okay.
It's definitely better than 2016 by a mile.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. But if gun to my forehead, if I have to rate them, I still place Afterlife at the end. And my reasoning behind it is this, that if we only had Afterlife, if Afterlife was a standalone movie, it wouldn't make sense without the first Ghostbusters.
That's true. You could probably let it stand on its own. Like, you don't have to know the first movies to really appreciate and understand the last one, because they do have elements. At the beginning, you're like, who the hell is this old man running across the field? But then you see the clips throughout the movie kind of explaining who the Ghostbusters were and this and that. But it really doesn't make, like, there's no emotional value there without having seen the first two. You can understand it, but you can't really appreciate it.
Right. It really is meant to be a companion to the first movie. Right. It's supposed to dovetail it and kind of connect all the dots and everything and tie things off nicely. That said, I think that what it does is, once again, it proves that if you have a good script and a great cast, you can do anything. Now, that said, it's crazy. Rotten Tomatoes has it listed at 63%.
Well, that's ridiculous.
I know. I feel like that's really low. And IMDb has it rated 7.2 out of 10, which I'm like, what are they smoking?
Really?
It's a lot lower than I would have thought.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the new Jackass film is certified fresh, but yet Ghostbusters Afterlife isn't. Like,
I know. It's crazy how that whole thing works out. That said, I really like it. I think sometimes we see and hear movies that get released, and frankly, nobody's going to be talking about them or watching them, 5 or 10 years from now. But I think that Afterlife, it's one of those that people are going to enjoy, years on down the line.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like I don't want to say it's the final chapter of the Ghostbusters saga, but it is in a lot of ways. And so if you look at it that way, like a part 3 of one big story, you can't, just watching part 3 on its own doesn't make too much sense. You can't appreciate the journey of these characters and what they went through. And then you see all these old dudes at the end, like, who were these guys? Oh, that's the other guys. Like, I can see that point. Like, looking at it from a standalone movie, like, yeah, you would kind of have to have 3 with, almost like you don't really count 3 as a movie on its own. It's more like extra. It's like a bonus feature of the first 2 in a way. Or that didn't make much sense, but yeah, I get what you're saying with that.
Yeah. That said, I think that what is good about it is they introduce new characters, and that they're written well enough that we accept them. Right? How often have we seen where people try to interject or add characters to a show and they never quite gel?
Well, the one character, though, I mean, not that she was a bad character, I just don't feel like we got enough time to really get to know her. And I already forgot her name, which I forget everybody's name. The girl he meets at the little diner place that he goes to work, and
so you're thinking of Phoebe.
No, that's
not Phoebe.
What is her name? Gosh, what is her name? I cannot remember her name at all. But yeah, not that she was a bad character, but she just didn't really have much time to develop, I don't think. They focused so much on the kids and the family that she was just kind of there. Even Podcast was like, had tons of time to grow and become like this solid character. But she just kind of like was there She's like Judy Winslow almost.
Right. I mean, I think she was there specifically for Trevor, right? That Finn Wolfhard needed somebody to have an attraction to.
That's true.
I think also, not to necessarily draw attention to race, but I think that they were trying to recreate a younger version of the Ghostbusters, and I think she is certainly the African American element of it.
And I definitely think it kind of held, even though all the her and podcast both were the new kids, where in the original movies he was the new one out of the four. But I think in the next movie, I think they're really going to have time to give that character, more space and more room to really develop into something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, I don't think she wasn't a bad character at all. We just didn't see much of her.
No, I think that you're right, that she needed a little bit more characterization. Yeah. And I think that if this were a series as opposed to a standalone movie, maybe they would have had more time to develop her character. But she really, there was so much going on that if they had spent a lot of time developing her, it would have taken away from other things.
It really would have.
So, I will say some surprises. Mckenna Grace is Phoebe. I'm not really familiar with this girl.
Oh my gosh.
Or what she's involved in. But I feel like, she's one of those characters who just absolutely stole the show. I went and pulled up her information here. So she was born in 2006.
Okay. She's fairly young.
I mean, she's younger than both of my daughters, right? 2006 would make her what? 16?
Let's see.
No.
Gosh, I'm terrible with math. Oh my gosh. I wish Corey could just zap the answer into my head.
It would make her 16.
16, yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty, I mean, at the age of 16, what were you doing when you were 16 years old?
I don't think I'm allowed to say that on the internet.
Okay.
Right. I mean, honestly, I was probably, getting into video games and playing with Legos, and still I play with Legos now, but I mean, yeah, like basic teenager stuff. I was a very introverted person, still kind of am to a degree, but so I never really went out to these events and stuff. I didn't have a car, so I didn't drive out to the theater on Fridays and stuff like that. Kind of stayed to myself mostly. But yeah, this kid, smarter and funnier and cooler than I am even now.
Yeah.
I mean, that kid is amazing.
She's amazing. I feel like, and I guess she's not just an actress, but she's also a singer.
Oh, wow.
It says that she has been acting professionally since the age of 6.
So 10 years. That's insane. Like 2011. That's pretty impressive, though. I mean, I know there's a lot of child actors in the world and stuff like that, but I mean, it's pretty impressive when you can be that good that quick.
Yeah. Yeah. But you get people who I think they get into the industry when they're young and they get established, and it's amazing how that whole thing works.
I'm trying to look at her IMDb page and to see if there's anything else that maybe I would know her from. I don't think she's got that. Well, there's a ton. Oh, wow. She voiced young Daphne in Scooby-Doo: A New Universe animation. Yeah. Did not know that. That's pretty cool. Captain Marvel. Did not know she was in that. I still haven't seen Captain Marvel. I need to watch that.
You haven't seen Captain Marvel?
I haven't. Oh, and Ready Player One, she was in. I'm gonna stop looking because I'll get distracted all night long. But that's pretty cool. Like those two movies alone, I'm like, wow, okay.
Right. Well, and again, I think that they sometimes when they make somebody into sort of a nerdy, geeky, introverted, intelligent kind of character, they take it to a ridiculous, absurd degree.
They do.
And I think that she really played the character of Phoebe as it seeming very, very naturally, honestly, intelligent. Kind of reminded me a little bit. Did you ever watch Big Bang Theory?
Oh yeah, I love Big Bang Theory. Oh,
okay.
It's a good show.
Yeah. Well, one of the scientist girls on the show, I can't remember her name.
Trying to think of which one you might be talking about.
Well, the one that Sheldon ultimately.
Yes. Oh gosh, what is her name? I know exactly who you're talking about. She was Blossom.
Yeah.
In the 90s. And then that was a transformation. And I saw Big Bang Theory. I'm like, she looks familiar. And I figured out why. I'm like, holy crap.
But the same kind of thing that she, number one, in real life, she is a real neuroscientist.
Yeah.
So that really helps that she's really playing herself in a way. But that said, I think that there was just a real genuineness about McKenna Grace and her performance.
And I gotta say, like, I didn't realize how much they transformed her for that movie. Because her looks alone. I looked on her IMDb page, like I was saying. I'm gonna share the screen really quick to show people this image of her. Because if you've seen Afterlife, this does not look like the same person. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. You know,
I mean, she looks like a young Emma Watson.
She really does.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's why are we smaller now? There we go.
All right.
She really does, and I just had to share that real quick because when in the movie, she was just like you said, this nerdy, curly haired, glasses, all this stuff, and I just thought that's what she looked like. I was like, oh, maybe the glasses might have been for the movie, but like the hair and the curliness and people can straighten their hair. I get it. You know, I curl my hair all the time. What's left of it, like one little curl comes down here. But yeah, that was a transformation right there.
I know. So I've got to say, one of the hilarious things though about. And I know we're dwelling on Phoebe for a while here, but
yeah.
I can't walk away from it. I will say, as a dad, being a dad of two awesome girls, that when my girls were growing up, they didn't automatically grasp the concept of humor.
Okay.
And so, dinner time would come around and they would recite their jokes at the dinner table. And there were so many times when they would try to be funny and it just wasn't. Right.
Right.
And so the idea that Phoebe spends the entire movie telling these terrible jokes, I thought that was hilarious. For me, it registered. It just brought me back to that moment of my kids trying and failing miserably to be funny. Now, mind you, their timing has improved so much, and they are naturally funny, a lot like me. But it just reminded me a little bit of that it took them a little bit, much like her to kind of grasp humor.
Speaking of transformations, though, there's one transformation that I noticed over the last couple of weeks that I didn't really realize until recently.
Yeah. Oh no!
You went from being in a boy band to being on a podcast, and I gotta say, that's pretty interesting.
I mean, I think we all go through phases in life. That was clearly in my early college days. Trying out the whole dreadlock thing. Maybe I need a weave. Since I'm losing everything up top, that would come in handy. But you know how it is. You grow up and you got to let go of the dreadlocks and walk away from the boy band. I know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a good look.
It's a fantastic look. For a lot of people, for some people, you guys might not realize, but I share the same name as Chris Kirkpatrick from the boy band NSYNC. I didn't even know who NSYNC was, and I started getting like fan mail letters and emails from people going, "Hi, are you the real Chris Kirkpatrick?" And there I was. I might have been, 18, 19, 20 years old, and of course I'm like, of course I'm the real Chris Kirkpatrick.
Yeah, that's me.
And Yeah, and then there'd be people like, I saw you at your concert and you gave me a rose and do you remember me? And I'm like, of course I remember you. Because what would happen is I would say, that's not me. I don't know who you're talking about, and then you'd never hear from him again. And so I'm like, well, that's really sad. So I would try to draw it out a little bit, not reveal immediately.
Wow. So many loads of car girls thought you. I mean, that's.
I don't know about so many car groups. I do know there was at least one who came by my house, looking to meet the real Chris Kirkpatrick.
Wow.
Probably the most hilarious thing though that happened to me is somebody, at least one person, sent me their demo tape, and they wanted me to give them my honest criticism on their music. And it was pretty bad.
I was gonna say, is it good? But I'm
no.
And the tape was Corey's tape. He was singing.
No, Corey would have done a lot better than that.
Okay, well that's good. So you're being nicer to him now, and that's good. There's healing.
There is healing. And again, therapy and medication and chanting and really, that time in Tibet with the monks and everything else that really did so much for our relationship.
That's Corey's so funny. The one who sings, the carloads come while you're at school. Oh my gosh. Now, if NSYNC ever makes a comeback, we're going to have a fun time on this show.
I'm going to change my name.
You should change it to Justin Timberlake. That's a good name.
That would be great. I'll change my name to, Michael Jackson or something.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good one. Nobody's using that one anymore.
Right.
Are you the real Michael Jackson? Like, I am.
Now, what I will say, again, off topic, but I'm gonna say it anyway, is everybody wants to be popular. Everybody wants to be a celebrity. And I just shared a name with somebody who happened to be, popular for 30 seconds. And I think I had to change my email address and had to change my name in the phone book. I know back when there were phone books, I had to go and change that simply because there were so many people who were trying to get in touch with the real guy. Fame sucks. And I only got a taste of it. So.
See, I wish that would happen to me. Not I say that now because of the podcast. I would screenshot the emails and put them on the show and all this stuff. But yeah, I'd get tired of it after a while, probably.
Yeah. All right, we haven't talked about Trevor. Trevor, played by Finn Wolfhard, and I think that first and foremost, who doesn't already like him? What he's done on the show Stranger Things.
And that's an interesting thing that I noticed. I noticed it right away, but there was an episode of Stranger Things, the Halloween episode, where they're dressed as Ghostbusters, and then it comes full circle to him being a Ghostbuster, and I'm just like, how cool is that? Just that alone, I'm like, that's pretty cool, and he's so good at that type of thing. I know he's done other stuff probably, but these weird, freaky, paranormal type stories. He's done great with those.
Oh yeah. I certainly feel like he's been typecast a little bit. But I like it. He is sort of into his, gangly, teenage phase.
Mm-hmm.
But I still really like what he brings to the story. Having been where I was a teenager when we moved from Portland, Oregon to Yermo, California, which is a pinprick of a town in the middle of the Mojave Desert. I mean, we were 14 miles away from Barstow, which was a pinprick, of a city, and that was really the closest big place. I kind of understand how it feels to, to leave what you know and to go into the middle of nowhere and to have to make new friends and kind of establish yourself someplace new. So
yeah,
I found him relatable.
I don't know. I guess I didn't relate to him in that way, but I don't know. There was something about him that I've always just liked. Even the first time I saw him on Stranger Things, I'm like, that kid, he's weird, but I like him. I don't know. Maybe I do relate. I'm weird, but I like myself.
Yeah. We haven't talked about Carrie Coon, who plays Callie, the mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like her a lot. I do. I don't really remember her from much or anything. Maybe I do. I just don't realize I do. But her role in this movie was perfect. Like she played that like, oh my dad died, I don't care. Like she didn't care. And then at the end, she was like, oh my god, like all this emotion was there, like out of nowhere. And
I think what I really liked about what she did in the movie was the idea here that we see her development of kind of being a mom at the end of her rope and feeling like she had been unloved and abandoned by her father. And that ultimately, over the course of the movie, I think she draws closer to her kids, and she ends up realizing that her dad had never been all that far away, that he really had been, that he had left the family for her because he ultimately wanted to save the world. And I thought that was a really neat moment, even at the very end when she gets to hug him before her father, before he leaves. I thought that was just an amazing touch. So she transforms a lot over the course of the story.
I think she does too. Yeah. I mean, you got to think that at some point throughout her life, she's holding on to this, like, this resentment that she, hates her father because of this and this and this. But there's part of her that's like, but I love him, even though she's never met him, because like when she sees it and she loses herself. I guess anybody would react the same way if you just saw a ghost pop up and look at you. I'd be like, holy crap. But there was always a connection there, I think, and she knew, like, okay, there's something. And I guess maybe that was more emotional because she finds all the pictures and all the the report cards of her kids, like all this stuff that he had been watching them their entire lives, and she had no clue that this was happening. She thought he just didn't care at all.
Yeah.
And finding out that he was really there, and then finding out why he wasn't there, it all, I was like, okay, that makes sense. That made it more sad too, because they never had those memories with each other. He knew of her and her kids and everything, but she had no clue who he was, or she knew who he was, but she didn't have the memories and didn't have those special moments that he got to have.
Right. I mean, it didn't repair anything. But I think at least she understood that her father really did love her, and that he hadn't forgotten about her. And she had hated even science because of her father. So, and I think by extension, that's why she and Phoebe were so distant with each other, because they just didn't talk the same language, right? Phoebe was so much like her grandfather, and she didn't know why. And whenever she looked at her daughter, she saw her dad. Right. I think to me that kind of made sense.
It really did.
So I've got to say that before we move on, how awesome is it that we got a chance to have Paul Rudd in the movie?
I mean, that is cool. And people, at first, people were complaining like that they had seen the movie and I hadn't yet. And I was reading these reviews, like not spoiler reviews, but just kind of overall thoughts. Paul Rudd wasn't even in it that long. I'm like, I thought he was in there a pretty decent amount of time.
Yeah.
An appropriate amount of time. He didn't take the spotlight, but he wasn't forgotten. I mean, he was essentially the Rick Moranis of this movie in a way. He got turned into one of the terror dogs, and he had to like get broken out of the concrete at the end. And I loved his scene at Walmart. That was amazing. He runs in there to get some stuff. He's like, "Oh, marshmallows!" and they start killing themselves all happily. Like,
now,
hey,
that was
each other's head off.
That was totally the ridiculous, humorous element, and true. His character, really of Mr. Gruberson, right? Even his name is ridiculous. he really was sort of the comic relief kind of character a little bit. That said, I've always liked Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
I have to say that the people who wrote the story, they must have had some familiarity with teaching summer school, because having taught summer school a number of times myself, I could, again, really relate to that experience. Though I don't know what teacher in the right mind would show their students Cujo.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Especially on such an old TV. Like, I would think 2020. At that point, it was probably 2020 in the movie. I don't know if they said a year or not in the movie. But yeah, even, the last couple of years, like, the schools, the idea that schools are still using these, like, roller TVs and, like, these old tube TVs and stuff with the little strap holding it down.
Well, before you laugh at that too much, I will tell you that, schools always lag behind as far as technology.
Yeah.
And, and if you're in a small rural school that is underfunded, that I think that's part of the joke, right? That they had to dust off the old VHS player and bring that out for the kids to watch Cujo.
I mean, yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, like, why didn't they have it on an HDMI, memory slot projector or something like it? But again, yeah, like, you're right. Like, I didn't really consider that part of it. Like, they're just a small, very, very small school in this small area, and they're like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense that they would have an old VCR and a TV like that. I mean, I'm sure there's a Cujo DVD out there. They could have put a DVD player, but yeah, that totally makes sense.
I know that the last time that I remember having one of those mobile VHS carts probably would have been back in 2007. So I kind of feel like this movie may have been set a little bit further back in the past.
Could have
not
been.
Necessarily 2027, but the date on the wall. You were the date on the wall. They're in the cave in the mountain.
Okay, yeah. I don't remember the date.
There was that countdown clock going on.
Yeah.
Was it 2022 or was it 2020 or?
I know it wasn't 2022 because I know the movie was supposed to have come out like a year before it did.
Right.
It was actually a summer movie originally. And then I think it was summer 2020 originally. So it probably was, I want to say 2020, maybe 2021. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and watch it again to really catch that.
I'm probably making more of that than I need to. But yeah, to me, having been a summer school teacher many, many times, and the kids want to be off and on vacation, and being honest yourself, you want to be off and on vacation too. Again.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I can totally relate. Though I don't think I ever did that. Just put them in front of a TV and not do anything at all. But summer school is one of those kind of experiences that are generally much less stressful, more laid back. You kind of have that conversation with the kids. You're like, hey, I'm gonna keep things easy. I want to make sure you guys get your credits. Let's not make this any more difficult than it has to be. That's a real kind of conversation. So anyway, I appreciated it. I think we would be remiss if we didn't at least talk about the return of the original cast.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really mention that too much. And they weren't in it very much. Dan Aykroyd had a little bit more time, I think, than the rest. But unless you count we just said his name earlier. Oh my gosh, I'm so terrible. Rewind the show and look back.
So you mean Ernie Hudson? Or
yes, Ernie Hudson. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why I keep forgetting that name. I want to say Danny Glover or something, or I can't. I don't know why. But Ernie Hudson, he had that scene in the end. I guess it was like a credit scene, really, where he's talking to Janine and like, yeah, I pay for everything now, and this, and this. Ray's bookstore sucks, but I'm paying for it. and all that. We found out he's this rich, successful guy that had, and he, I guess, buys back the or rents the firehouse. You see at the end, he pulls the Ecto-1 into the little garage bay and all this stuff. He might have had more time because he had all that stuff at the end, but during the span of the actual movie, they didn't have a lot of time. But it was really cool to see them come in where it counted. And people criticized that, but I think that was perfect because the movie wasn't about them. The movie was about these kids and this new story. It was really about Egon and Phoebe. Like, that was the main heart of the movie. And they came in, I think, at the perfect time and did the perfect amount for what it was. Bill Murray came in, all funny, like, hey, you remember me? Like, we were on bad terms, but I miss you. And, like, all that funny, goofy stuff. And then, yeah, I mean, I think it was great.
That line where they're up against Gozer, and Gozer says, "Are you a god?" And the last time that they had been asked that question, they said no. And Gozer had then said, "Then die." Right? And this time, when asked that question, they said, "Yes, we're gods." Because they knew what was coming next. I thought that was great.
The funny part about that was, like, Ray hesitates. He's like, come on, Ray. Like, don't say it. No. Like,
right. You know what's going to happen if you say it.
Exactly.
I really felt like, some people might say that they wanted more of the original cast in there. Why did we only get 30 seconds of Janine, or we have to wait for the after credit scene to get Sigourney Weaver's character in there? But I also think that in Afterlife, they were trying really hard not to have the old cast upstage the new cast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And if they had been in the whole movie, that would have happened. Paul Rudd, who? You would have forgotten all about him. Bill Murray it would have been cool to see Bill Murray and Paul Rudd together, like, doing some stuff. But yeah, if that had happened too much, then they would have definitely overshadowed the rest of the cast.
Yeah. So I do feel like, as much as I would like more of them, and I love their dynamic together, I think that it showed real restraint and wisdom in waiting, other than that phone conversation, to wait until the end when we finally get the full view of Spengler, right? I think
all
that was
together.
Yeah. I think that was just a really perfect moment.
I always questioned how all those guys knew where Egon's house was, because I was under the impression the whole movie that he was in hiding. He was disappearing from everybody. Nobody knew where he was. And then all of a sudden, I guess maybe Janine told them, because obviously she was handling his business. She had probably had the power of attorney and all this stuff because she was paying his bills and stuff like that. So, I mean, I guess she told everybody where they were. Maybe Ray calls Janine, like, Janine, what happened? What happened to Egon? Like, where is he at? Like, that was a terrible Dan Aykroyd impression. But maybe that's why, because he was like, he can go to hell and all this stuff, all negative. Everybody hated him. And all of a sudden they're at his house. Like, why didn't you go see him like 20 years ago? Like, I just thought he didn't know where he lived. And all of a sudden there they are. And they got there in the perfect moment. Like, they could have got there 10 minutes earlier. But
I think that Egon had been at that location for a long time. He hadn't moved. So it was very obvious where Egon was.
Or maybe that's where he lived the entire time.
Right. I don't think
even during the events of the first movie. I mean, well, no, because that was in New York, and he didn't live there the entire time. But still,
no. I mean, clearly this happens way later. But still, once he moves there, he stays there. They were all aware that that's where he was supposed to be.
So Corey's talking about my Dan Aykroyd impression. He thought it was Jimmy Stewart, and honestly, it probably sounded more like Jimmy Stewart than it did.
It really did. It really did.
Now I'm going to start trying to do that. It's going to sound like Dan Aykroyd.
Right. It's like you're going to do like your version of Miracle on 34th Street.
Yeah. Sure. Look, we're going to recite it right now. No. Not going to do that.
Hey, listen, I feel like we've done a great job.
We have.
We're right there at the hour and a half mark, and we've covered all 3 Ghostbusters movies since 2016. And I think we've done a pretty good deep dive into all of that. So
we really have, and we just didn't get time to get to our Facebook posts and stuff like that. So we can save those for next week.
I'll
add those with some more. I feel bad for the people that I tagged in these because I was like, hey, this is mentioned, but it'll be on here next week. Just because we just talked so much about Ghostbusters and everything that I knew there was a possibility, but I had them ready just in case we needed, but yeah, it's been a good show. And at first I noticed the ticker was a little annoying to me at first because I kept watching it, like I was distracted by it. But now, like a cat, but now it's just there.
Yeah. Well, I think that no matter where people are when they come in to watch the show, they've got that information right there. So I think it's great.
It is. And now we don't even need a little where's it at? This one. Ha! Because this has all the information right here.
It really does. But I think this is probably a great time just to remind people, if you guys have hung on to watching this video all the way to the end and you still haven't yet hit that subscribe button, what are you waiting for? Get that done now. Continue to join us as we go live every Sunday, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. And we always love to see your comments and your feedback and just have you join us. And so, if you're not a part of us on Twitter or on Facebook or any other kind of social media, take the time to join us and be a part of the conversation.
Yeah. And if you didn't catch what those Twitter handles were, you've been reading it for an hour and a half, so shame on you.
Right.
But if you did just come in, you could pause the video and read them down there. I feel like we should have weather reports and sports scores or something down here. Breaking news. But yeah,
well, I think the truth is, frankly, we could put anything down there.
Oh yeah, pretty much. We can make a few different ones, so we let that one circulate for a few minutes, and then switch over, and then switch back and forth.
Yeah,
a lot of clicking, but it's easy to do. So easy a caveman could do it.
Wait a minute.
That's really condescending. I love those commercials. All right. Oh yeah, I was like, what are we going to talk about? Oh yeah, we're done.
We're finished.
This has been a good episode. This will catch us again next week, and we're going to talk more about stuff. I don't know anything specific, but we'll get more to your Facebook comments and posts and things, and I'm sure we'll be talking about a lot. I need to go on there and catch Space Force season 2. Haven't seen the second season yet. I probably need to rewatch the first season, and then
you need to go watch. You need to watch Peacemaker.
Yeah, Peacemaker. I need to watch some Peacemaker.
Peacemaker.
Watch Peacemaker.
Right.
Yeah. I do need to check that out. I've heard it's pretty good.
I think you'd enjoy it. And then Book of Boba Fett.
That's definitely one I need to watch too. Corey likes stuff in golf. Don't know if we'll talk about golf, but we could try to get it in there.
I think we could probably spend at least 5 or 10 meaningful seconds on it.
Golf is a game. There we go.
Golf is good. I put the ball in the hole.
Bob Barker, Adam Sandler,
Right. I wouldn't mind a Happy Gilmore. That would be fun.
That would be fun. Yeah, maybe we can do a Happy Gilmore review at some point, and then we can cover golf and other things that are actually good.
Right.
Yeah. So thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for subscribing, and please keep doing it. So we'll catch everybody next week. Have a good week, and have a good night.
See you later.
See ya.